Hello everyone, welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I am Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us today. Hey, I want to thank one of our loyal followers, Tracy F., who called me with a question and I didn't know the answer, and he and I went out and figured it out together, and I thought this would make a great video. The question is what does a person who has previous felony convictions but has gone through and restored all of their firearm rights, how do they answer that magical question on Form 4473? So I thought we'd spend a few minutes today talking about how do I answer Form 4473 if I've had to have my firearm rights restored? Well, listen, before we get rolling, if you like this video, go ahead and click that like button down below. If you want to stay apprised of all issues related to your Second Amendment rights, not only on a statewide level, but on a nationwide level, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. And remember, if you click that little bell logo down below, you'll be notified when we post new videos. So the topic today is Form 4473. Now, any of you who have purchased firearms are very familiar with Form 4473. It's an ATF form, and it has to be filled out by every FFL at the time that you are purchasing a firearm, regardless of the type of firearm. So whether it's a rifle, shotgun, semi-automatic rifle, handgun, does not matter. You're going to be filling out a Form 4473. And in Section 21 of that form, there are a laundry list of what I like to call the magical questions. Questions that, candidly, if you answer in the affirmative, you likely are going to be denied the sale of that firearm. Now, one of the questions, specifically 21C, asks if people have ever previously been convicted of a felony or other disqualifying criminal offense such as domestic violence, which would then disqualify them from being able to possess a firearm. And certainly if you've had those convictions and done nothing about them, you are in fact ineligible, I should say, to possess a firearm both under state and federal law. But what about the individuals who have gone out and restored their rights? That is, people who had convictions for a felony, the requisite period of time has lapsed, that's typically 10 years, and has gone through all of the necessary channels by vacating and expunging the underlying offenses, then getting an order of restoration from the Superior Court in the county in which the offense occurred, making sure that the Washington State Patrol has been notified of the restoration of firearm rights by that Superior Court, and notified the federal government so that the ATF and all other databases. When a person has jumped through all of those hoops, now they have previously been convicted of a felony, so how do they answer that question? And that was the question that was posed to Washington Gun Law by Tracy F. I called a few FFLs to try to get an answer, and nobody could give me the correct answer. So on we went with some research, and lo and behold, sometimes when you have a question about a government form, you perhaps should start your research on the government form itself. So Form 4473 is a 6-page document. However, really only the first 3 pages contain both the seller and purchaser's information, and that's what's submitted to the ATF. The last 3 pages are a help sheet. So the answer to our question is actually found on pages 4 and 5 of Form 4473 in the help section. And specifically at the bottom of page 4 and at the top of page 5, it reads as follows. Exception. A person is not prohibited from receiving or possessing a firearm if that person, 1, has been convicted of any federally or state offense pertaining to antitrust violations, unfair trade practices, and several other white-collar crimes. 2, has been convicted of a state misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment of 2 years or less. Or 3, following a conviction of a felony or other crime for which the judge could have imprisoned the person for more than 1 year, or a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence, has received a pardon, an expungement, or a set-aside of that conviction, or has lost and regained civil rights, the right to vote, sit on a jury, and hold public office in the jurisdiction in which the conviction occurred, and the law of the convicting jurisdiction does not prohibit the person from receiving or possessing firearms. So, the bottom line is, if you have previous felony convictions, which would otherwise disqualify you from possessing a firearm, or a DV conviction, which would disqualify you from possessing a firearm, If you have gone through all the appropriate legal channels and had those convictions vacated, sealed, expunged, whatever it may be, you have petitioned the Superior Court in the county where the offenses occurred and had your firearm rights restored, you have notified the Washington State Patrol, you have notified the ATF, and for all intents and purposes, your firearm rights are restored and you have a court order to that effect, then the answer to question 21C on Form 4473 should be no. If you answer the question yes, either because you have felony convictions or DV convictions that you have not properly tended to, or you inadvertently answer that question yes, in all likelihood, the sale of the firearm will not be allowed at that exact moment, and that will be the end of the transaction. The problem is once you've been rejected for a sale of a firearm, you could end up in the system to a point where people will have delays or other rejections occur. We're going to be doing a video on unique personal identification numbers and ways to work around that, especially for those of you who have restored your rights. But it is a problem, and you want to make sure that you're very specific and meticulous when filling out Form 4473. Well, I hope that answers your question for all of you who've gone through all the hard work to restore your firearm rights. If you have any questions about Form 4473 or anything related to your Second Amendment rights, don't hesitate to contact us at WashingtonGunLaw.com, or you can always call us directly at 425-765-0487. Listen, part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we preach here all the time at Washington Gun Law, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching, and stay safe.